I'm Jamila Musaiba, an international social etiquette consultant and the author of the book Etiquette, the Least You Need to Know. In today's video, I'm going to tell you everything about shoes. We're going to look at the history of the shoe, different traditions and superstitions around shoes. We're going to look at the larger shoe category, and then we're going to look at different segments of shoe and try to dissect it into little parts and identify them. So when you are buying shoes or wearing them, you will know what type exactly you're wearing. In the next video, I'm going to tell you about shoe etiquette rules, and we're going to look at the different kinds of shoes that I love to wear. So make sure you subscribe to my channel, stay tuned, leave a comment, and like this video. So let's start with some interesting facts and history about shoes. Earliest records of shoes date back to 40,000 years ago, and they resembled moccasins that were made of a wraparound leather. Until early 19th century, there was no distinction between a male shoe and a female shoe. And up until the mid-19th century, there was no distinction between a right shoe and a left shoe. Interesting, huh? Shoes were also used to symbolize a social status. For example, in ancient Egypt, slaves walked barefoot, or they wore sandals that were made of palm leaves, whereas people of a higher social status would wear sandals of a yellow or red color that were made of papyrus. Also, aristocrats of the 17th century wore shoes that were crafted out of wood. Must have been very uncomfortable. Whereas common folks wore shoes made of leather. Heels were first popularized by King Louis XIV, who was also known as a Sun King, in France. He was a man of a rather small stature. He had a height of 165 centimeters, and therefore he requested all the other males in the court to also wear heels. Sneakers, on the other hand, are a rather new invention. They first appeared in the early 20th century, but were made popular by a German man, Adi Dassler. And you might recognize his brand everywhere now, Adidas, because it's the largest athletic shoe selling company today in the world. To date, the most expensive pair of shoes are the ones worn by Judy Garland in Wizard of Oz, the Ruby Sleepers. They actually were sold for $660,000 in an auction. There are a lot of interesting traditions and superstitions that revolve around shoes. For example, leaving your shoes on a table might bring you bad luck or take away your wealth. Also, there's a tradition among the newlyweds to write the shoes of the bride's want-to-be under the sole of the shoe of the actual bride. And whoever's name gets worn off first is the one to get married first. Real Christmas tradition includes burning your shoes in order to keep the bad spirits away. Whatever culture you belong to, there's certainly a shoe tradition or a superstition. And no matter how different they are, their message is almost always the same. It's either to bring prosperity and good luck, or to scare away the bad spirits or the bad luck. I would be really interested to know your country's shoe tradition or superstition. Please don't forget to leave a comment and let me know what is the specific cultural tradition around a shoe that your country has. In today's video, I'm going to look at the different categories of shoes. Of course, this list is not extensive because we have a time limit on the video, but I try to include all the important or more popular categories of shoes. So let's look at them. So the first category of shoes that I'm going to be looking at are ballerinas or ballet flats. I personally really love this category of shoes because I find them super comfortable, but they're also very nice to be worn for work or for a casual walk or for running around errands. They're perfect for almost every season except for winter. Another category of shoe that I'm going to be looking at are called mules. These are very comfortable shoes, and they are perfect for summer as well as for spring, and they could be even worn in fall if the place that you're living in is not too cold. They have an open toe and an open back. Unlike slippers, both sides of the shoe are open, and slippers usually the back is open and the front is closed. So these are called mules. The third large category of shoes are wedges, and these are shoes that don't have a separate heel or they don't have a separate platform. It's sort of a platform that goes all the way through the shoe. They can have an open toe or they can have a closed toe, they can have an open back or closed back, but the main thing is that they have a one uniform platform all along. along the heels. So these are called wedges, and they're perfect for summertime, and they could even be worn in spring if the place where you're living is not too cool in spring. Another large category of shoes are sandals. And what makes them sandals is the fact that they have an open toe. They can have different design, they can have a heel or not, but the main thing that puts them into this category is the fact that your toes are exposed. Another category of shoe that we're looking at are loafers. They have a closed toe and closed back. They're perfect for work, and they could be worn with any formal attire. Next, we have evening shoes. So evening shoes are any kind of shoes that have a very fancy design. They are elaborate. They could have an embroiderment or not, but they're specifically made to be worn in the evening. Of course, nowadays with fashion, a lot of people wear evening shoes during the day, but if you are to really respect the rules of etiquette, you would wear an evening shoe in the evening. Next, we have a category of shoes that is probably the most recognizable, and these are sneakers. Whereas before they would be worn only with a sportswear, nowadays they're worn with a smart casual attire and even sometimes with a business attire. So you can see it on anyone, anywhere, and everywhere. Next large category that we're going to be looking at, and this is the final category for today, are boots. So they look like this, and they could have different length. They could be ankle length, they could be calf length, knee length, and even over knee length. And these are just perfect for winter, for fall, and could sometimes be worn in spring with spring dresses. Now that we have looked at the larger categories of shoes, let's look at the shoe design and try to dissect each and every part of it to understand how to categorize shoes to even more detail. First of all, let's look at what the shoes are made of. The first thing we're going to be looking at is the composition of the shoe. So what is the shoe made of? Most shoes around the world are made of leather. An example of a leather shoe is this one. Some shoes are made of fabric. The good thing about fabric is that it's breathable, but the disadvantage is that it can get stained very quickly. And the third composition is suede. It's a very gentle material and should be taken care of very, very gently. Next thing we're going to be looking at is the toe. Is the toe open or is it closed? As I mentioned earlier, if the toe of the shoe is open, it's called a sandal. However, there are some shoes where you can only see, like this one, you can only see 2 or 3 toes. This is an example of a peep toe shoe. So basically you can peep into the toe of the person. And the most common category is a closed toe shoe, so where you cannot see the toes of the person. Next thing is the design of the front of the shoe. So a shoe could have a pointed toe, something that looks like this. It's very, very edgy, it's very, very skinny. And then some shoes could have a rounded toe, something that looks like this. And other shoes could have an oval toe, so it's longer than a rounded shoe. And then some shoes could even have a tapered toe, so it's basically a triangle that ends up with a line over here. So this is all about the front of the shoe. Front, or generally the shoe itself, could be simple or plain like that without any design on top, or it could have an embellishment, something like looks like this, like a brooch, or it could have embellishments like this all along the shoe. The heel of the shoe, the most important part of the shoe, it could be flat, something like this. Basically, there's no heel. Or it could have a small kitten heel. A kitten heel is something that looks very skinny and is very, very small. It could have a spool heel, something that looks like a column almost. It's very narrow over here and gets wider to the bottom. And then the heel could also be block, something that looks massive and is all of the same size basically. And then the popular heel style is stiletto. It's a very narrow, very skinny heel. Or sometimes the shoe might have no heel at all, but instead a sort of one size elevation, which is called a wedge, like this. Another important element of the shoe is a platform. So some shoes have platforms, others don't. For example, this shoe has no platform, it only has a heel, whereas this shoe has both a heel and a platform. An example of the same style shoe is this one, that has both a platform and a heel. Sometimes the shoes might have completely closed back, like this, in the example of this ballerina flats, whereas in other cases, like in mules, they might be completely exposed, like this one. Other times, the back of the shoe has a little strap. That's called a slingback shoe, like this one, or for example, this one. Both of them are slingback shoes. Now let's look at the straps. Sometimes the shoe, as I already mentioned, could have a strap at the back, which is called the slingback, but other times it could have a strap around the ankle, like this, to secure the shoe on your foot. This is called an ankle strap shoe. Other times there could be a strap both at the back, which is a slingback, but also over the instep. When there's a strap over the instep, it's called a Mary Jane shoe. Having identified and dissected each part of the shoe, now let's look at the different length at which the shoe could be. So some shoes could be at ankle length, some shoes could be at calf length, others could be at knee length, and others could be over knee length. So having already told you about different categories and different elements of a shoe, let's try to identify this shoe. For example, this one is a sandal because it has an open toe. It's an ankle strap because there is a strap around the ankle. It has a platform, so it's a platform, and has a block heel. Having said all of that, this is a black ankle strap sandal shoe with a platform and a heel. Or else we could say this is a black ankle strap platform block-heeled sandal. Next, we have this pair of shoe, which is a black satin, has embellishment. It has a spool heel. Since it has a strap at the back, it's called a slingback. So looking at, and has actually a pointed toe. So this is a pointed toe, black satin, spool-heeled slingback evening shoe. Next, this one is a wedge. It has a small little circle at the toe, so you can peep into the toe, not the whole toes are exposed, and it has a slingback. So this is a white peep toe slingback wedge. Now let's see if you can identify these shoe types. If there's any shoe over here that you really like, please comment below and tell me what type of shoe is that. Thank you very much for watching this, and I hope you find this information useful in identifying different kinds of shoes. Make sure you subscribe, like, and leave a comment, and don't miss the second part of this video on shoe etiquette and my favorite pairs of shoes. Bye!